Good morning. At least in Mexico, it's still 10 a.m. In the UK, good afternoon. My name is Mayra Valdes, and I'm very, very excited to be here in the GTM Award Conference. I'm going to be talking about some Google Tag Manager templates real-world use cases. So before we go, a little bit about me. You already presented me. Thank you. My name is Mayra Valdes. I'm a director of data engineering at Justia. I'm from Mexico. I have 14 years of experience in software development and digital marketing. I have a master's degree in data analytics from the University of Glasgow. Glasgow was very rainy for me, so I came back to Mexico. And finally, I'm a very happy mom of a beautiful kid. Okay, so a little bit about Justia, the company that I work for. Justia is a company, a US-based company with offices in California and northern Mexico. Justia's mission is to make law and legal resources free for all. We offer many free legal resources, such as a lawyer directory, which is a platform that lets users find lawyers based on location and practice area. Ask a Lawyer, which is a platform where users can ask legal questions. Justia Connect is a membership program to connect the legal community. And finally, we have an extensive legal portal with a lot of things, legal editorial content, US cases, US codes, patent, trademarks, a lot of things. Justia also offers premium marketing solutions for lawyers and law firms who want to improve their online presence. Okay, so let's get started. What we're going to covering today, we're going to be 3 use real-world cases. The first one will be about privacy. The second one will be about performance. And the third one will be about scalability. I'm having some assumptions before. Based on previous speakers, I assume that you're already familiar with Google Tag Manager templates, what they are, and how to add some Google Tag Manager templates. I'm also assuming that you are familiar with the Google Tag Manager layout, like what a tag is, what a trigger is, and what a variable is. I'm sharing some resources at the end of the presentation. I mean, a URL with resources. So in case you have questions, you can go in there. Okay, so the first case about privacy. How to clean and redact PII from page URLs. First of all, what's PII? PII is any data that can identify an individual. It means personally identifiable information. It can be a name, it can be an email, it can be a phone number, it could be a social security number, anything. It's important to remove PII to protect privacy, also to ensure compliance for regulations such as GDPR, and also to reduce the risk for users in data breaches. Okay, so how does PII get into your analytic platforms? There are a few ways, but one of them is, for example, you have a contact form in your website and the user enters some information in there. And when they submit this, that data goes into the URL sometimes. And then that's how that data goes into your analytic platforms. So a little bit, a brief introduction to the URL query parameters. So query parameters is everything that goes after the question mark. So that's the start of a query string. And then we have parameter keys, we have parameter values, and they are separated by an ampersand. So back in the day, before the Google Tag Manager templates, you could remove PII. And how would you do it? You will use a custom JavaScript variable where you will add some JavaScript in there, and that will make sure to remove that PII, but you needed to modify the JavaScript if you wanted to add like new fields or regular expressions or so on. So today we're going to see 2 use cases using community template templates from the community gallery. One of them is whitelist and one of them uses blacklist. Okay, so the first one uses whitelisting. In this one, it only keeps the whitelisted parameters. So for example, only the ones that you want, such as UTM source, UTM's medium, and it removes everything else. And the second one is about blacklisting, which removes the parameters that you want and keeps everything else. For example, you want to remove everything that matches name or email or phone, like phone number or mobile phone. Okay, so let's do a quick demo. So first of all, the first thing that you want to do is to actually add the template. So how will you do that? So you click on templates on the left sidebar, and then this is going to be a variable template. So you will click on search gallery, and then you wait because it takes a little while. And then you click on the search, and then you enter the name of the template that you want to add. You can see that there are a few of them. I'm gonna pick the one that is the whitelisting, which is this one. And then it prompts you like the description and then some permissions and then some links in here. We're going to go back to this one, but I'm gonna click on repository. So to see what it does. So let's add to the workspace. It tells you like, do you really want to add? You should always look at this. This is not dangerous because it only logs to console in debug and preview. So I'm just going to add it. After that, what you're going to do is to create a variable based on this one. So you will go to variables in the left sidebar, and then you will click on new. In your variable configuration, you will click the new custom template, which is this one. And then you will give it a name. So we'll give it page URL clean variable. After that, you will enter what you want to change, the full URL. In this case, we want to change the URL of the main request. And then it lets you add some whitelist parameters. So in here, the repository, which we open from the documentation, gives you a recommended default query parameters, basically the ones that can get you analytics information, such as UTM source, UTM medium, the gclid in case you are using Google Ads. So for this demo, I'm just going to add 3, UTM source, UTM medium, and UTM source, UTM medium, and it also lets you to do some value processing. For example, in UTM medium, some people will add email with uppercase, some other with lowercase. So in this case, I'm going to change the value processing to a lower, so we actually normalize that value. Okay, so after that, what we are going to do is to use that variable. How can we use this one? So how can we actually send that to Google Analytics? You go to your tags, and in GA4 tag, what you're going to do is to add a configuration setting in here. You can add a configuration settings variable, but we are going to add the parameter here. This is a configuration setting variable is basically a variable that will share the values across different GA tags. But in this one, I'm just going to use a configuration parameter, which is page location, is the one that I want to override. There are others like page reference. We're going to back to that. In this case, we're going to pick page location, and then you enter the page URL clean variable that you just created. And you click save, and that's it. That's it. That's everything that you need. So let's click on preview and see if it works. I'm going to add in here URL, which has first name, last name, UTM medium, in this case, uppercase, UTM source, and I'm going to click on connect, and let's see what happens. So what happens in here is that we go back to the debugging console, and what happens here, you click on the data layer and in the dump ready and your variables and see what we can find in here. So we have the page URL, which is the original request. And we can see in here that you have the first name, the last name, UTM medium, and UTM source. But you can see you page URL clean variable, it doesn't have that. So it already removed first name, it removed last name. It also lowercase the email. So that's pretty cool. So that's it. That's everything that you need to do. If you go back, this is GA4 interface. So in the GA4 interface, you can actually see if it's working. How do you do that? You go to the admin, and then you scroll down until you find the debug view option. And then the events will show up in here. So let's scroll down, and you can see the page view in here. And let's find the page location. This is the first request that I did a few minutes ago. This is, for example, I was testing, and this is from 26 minutes ago. The new events should show up in here. It takes a little while to show up, so we'll go back to the presentation. but basically the page location in your event will remove the query parameters in here. Other thing that I want to show while we wait is that if we go to our site and you go to another page, for example, another page from your website, and you go and inspect the variables, for example, this was you are in the album page, one thing that you can find is that your referrer still has your PII. So you also want to remove that. And how do you do that? So how do you remove this from the interface? You will need to add another parameter override. So in this case, you will add something in here like page referrer. And what you need to do is to create another variable that will remove the query parameters. And that's it. That's everything that you need to do. You can add, there are other parameters that could have, basically you just need to override all the ones that you need. Let's see if the page is already in here. It's still not loading. It takes a few minutes, so we will come back to this in a few minutes, so we don't have to wait until they appear. So we saw the whitelist. The blacklist is another template. I'm not going to show it live, but I'm going to show what you need to do. Basically, you import the template just like we did. In this case, we will pick the first one, which is the clean or redact PII from URLs. And then you create the variable, just like we did. You click on new, you pick the one that the template, and then you configure. In this case, there are more options, and then you will add the URL just like we did. Then you will need to click on new parameter key. And in this case, it lets you to add the parameter key that you want to modify or remove. And it gives you a matches condition. So it gives you some options. So it could be equals, or it could be equals case insensitive. So like you have name with uppercase or name with something like all uppercase or just camel case or so on. Or you can also use regular expressions, or regular expressions also case insensitive. It also gives you two options. It also gives you the option to redact, so you can only not like delete, but modify the value to something like redacted or email. It also lets you to add parameter values, regular expressions. So instead of looking at the key, you will modify the value. You will look for something in the value to actually change it. At the end, what you will do is to have something like this. So you have your page URL with some data, but you also have the clean, which the text such as redacted or email or any text that you want. So which one should you pick? Well, both of them have pros and cons. One of them has more flexibility, but like if you pick the wrong regular expression, it could be dangerous. The other one has less options, but it's more simpler to just set up. The thing about this is that I want to show that for some of the things that you want to do, there could be more than one template. And it's important that you check the template, check what it does, check the description, check the documentation and repository to see if they have documentation or it doesn't have documentation, and the homepage to see if it's from a trusted developer and so on. Lastly, but there is, if you use server-side Google Tag Manager, you could also use a template in there. It's the same as the blacklist. You can find it in there. You set up the variable just like we did, but in server-side, you use it based on a transformation. So transformation is a very nice feature from server-side. And what it does is that you click on your server-side in transformations, and then the transformation lets you to modify events or remove parameters or allow, like by allowing or excluding. In this case, we will modify the page location to our variable, and then you could add it to all the tags or only certain tags. So you could add two different configurations for example, GA4 or Facebook. And lastly, you just check. In this case, for example, it did the same thing from the client, but one thing about server side that is nice that I wanted to show is that it lets you mask. It has a hashing algorithm that basically, if you want a value that is unique but not with the information, you can use the mask replacement type and it will output a hash. An extra tip is that GA4 added a tool to redact data inside the interface. It lets you to pick based on parameter keys or also all the emails, but it has some limitations. So like it only allows you to redact and not to delete, and it does not allow customizing the redaction text. It does not support partial matches. So Google Tag Manager templates can still help with the limitations. Okay, that's it for the first case. We're going to cover the use case, the second use case, which is about performance, and we will do Core Web Vitals tracking. Before we go there, I want to see if the events already show in the interface. Let's see if it already picked. Yes, so it is here. This is what I wanted to show. The page location does not have, like the page referer, it still has the values. This is what we were seeing. And in here, this is the clean location. So this is the clean location where we remove the PII. So it takes a while, but it does show up eventually in here. Okay, let's go back to the Core Web Vitals. What are Core Web Vitals? Core Web Vitals are user experience metrics that measure a website speed, interactivity, and visual stability of a web page. They are initiated by Google, and they are just to make the sites faster. So there are 3 Core Web Vitals. There are more Web Vitals, but the Core Web Vitals are 3: LCP, IMP, and CLS. Previously, there was another one that was FID, but was replaced by this one, by the IMP recently. So Google categorizes your score in 3. It could be good, needs improvement, or poor. And they are different for each metric. For example, you are good in LCP if your page loads in up to 2.5 seconds. But for IMP, you will be good only if the metric is up to 200 milliseconds. There are some debugging tools that you can use for the Core Web Vitals, such as the PageSpeed Insights and Google Search Console. You can also see the Core Web Vitals in there. However, for example, for the Search Console, it takes forever to update. It takes up to a month to show up the changes. So if you fix something, you want to see if it actually is working. PageSpeed Insights can help, but maybe you want to test more than one page at a time. So that's why we are going to see how to track that with a Google Tag Manager template. We're going to use this Core Web Vitals template from Simo Ahaba. I'm just going to set it up really quick because of time constraints. However, you can check his blog post for more details later on. Again, I'm going to share these resources at the end, so don't worry about copying the URL right now. Okay, let's get started with the live demo. So the first thing that you want to do is to import the template into your container. So you go to the templates. In this case, I already added it, but you can do it the same way. Like you can click on Search Gallery and you will go in here, Core Web Vitals. It is already added. However, when you add it, it prompts you some of the things. For example, it gives you a description and it will ask you for permission. What permission? It asks you to permission to add these URLs, these scripts to your site. So you need to be careful when you have a template. You need to see what it's doing. You need to see if it's adding a script that you actually trust. So in this case, we're going to trust it, and we're going to set it up. So what you are going to do after you import it, you need to add it to your tags. So you click on New, and then you click on Tag Configuration, and then you will scroll down until you find it, and then you pick it, and you give it a name. Let's call it Core Web Vitals tag. And in this case, there are several options. I'm not going to go over all of them. You can check it out in the blog post, but I'm going to click and send attribution data. What is attribution data? Attribution data is basically, it sends you the book target of the DOM element that was like correlated to the score. So that will help you to debug what's going on with your website. Like if you get a poor, you will actually know what's the DOM element that is related to that poor rating. And then we need to trigger. So we're going to trigger in all the pages. So click on save, and that's it. That's everything that you need to do. So that will, let's preview it, see if it's actually working. Because I said that it's working, but maybe it's not. So we go to the page, we click on another page, we scroll, and let's see if we got some core web vitals. Yes, they are here. So in here we have the event, and then let's see our data layer. So our data layer says that we got a score of a rating of good, and we got a score of 230 for the LCP. And let's click the above one, it's CLS, we're also good. So this website is good and it's fast. And this is the debug target. This comes from the attribution data. This is the DOM attribute that is correlated to the score. So when you get a poor, you can actually look at this and see, oh, this is what is causing the poor or the needs improvement. But then we want to send this to your GA4 interface. How do you do that? So first of all, we need to create a trigger that is watching this event. So we'll copy this event name. You go back to your interface. You click on triggers. You click on new. And we're going to add a custom event, which name is Core Web Vitals. You give it a name. You click on save. And then we actually need to send it to the GA4. So you click on tags. We need to create a tag for that event. So you click on new, tag configuration, what type? So let's do a Google Analytics, a Google Analytics GA4 event. And you give it a name for GA4 Core Web Vitals tag. And you add the measurement ID, an event name. So what do we want to add in here? I'm just going to add Core Web Vitals in here. However, I'm going to change that in a bit. Core Web. A trigger. To add a trigger, of course, we're going to add the trigger that we just created. And we click on save. But we need to send the data that we see in the data layer. So basically, this, we need to access this, and this is a data layer value. So we can access this through a data layer variable. So you need to create one variable for each of the elements, like one for the name, one for the ID, one for the value, one for the rating, and so on. Everything that you want to send. So you go back to your variables, and then you need to create one. You click on new, variable configuration, and then you add a data layer variable in here. The data layer variable name will be, this is dot notation. Basically, you have a JSON object in here. So in order to access ID, you will separate it by a dot. So you copy this, and you put a dot, and you put something like you want to access, for example, rating. And that's it. That's everything that you need to do. And then you call it data layer rating variable, and you click on save. I had already created the rest of them in here, so I don't lose time creating, but they are basically the same. So they are basically what I just added here. But now we need to send it to your GA4. So you go back to tags, you go to the GA4 tag that you just created. And in the event name, we are not going to add this event name. We will add the metric name. So in here, we will pick the metric name, which is this variable. And then you will add some parameters. For example, we will call rating, and we will set the rating. And you want to send the value, and then you will set the value in here. And we also care about the debug target. So you send the debug target. in here. And you can add more, like you can add the ID, anything that you want. You click on the ID, right, and that's it. You click on save, and that's it. That's everything that you need to do. So if you click on preview, it will show that it fired the tag. This is a GA4 tag, but sometimes it doesn't work the unknown tag type. However, you can see that your I need to actually look for the core web vitals. Sometimes they don't show up if you don't interact with the page, so make sure that you interact with the page. It also doesn't work if it's loaded in the background. So now we will see the core web vitals in here. We will see that the variables are already filled out. And you can see in your tag that it actually fired. And this will fire an event that should show up in here. Let's see if they are showing up. Not right now. As I said, it takes a little while, but they will show up here eventually. And that's it. That's everything that you need to do. So that will get you the values in here. Okay. So some notes. This template is only a wrapper from the official JavaScript library. So if it fails, it's mostly because of the JavaScript, not really the template, but you can also check the template to see if there's something not working. It loads an external script like you saw. However, you can change the template in case you want to load it from your website. Some of the things is if your website has a lot of traffic, like millions of pages, adding this could add up to 3 more times because it's 1 per core web vital, and then sometimes it loads more than once. So one thing that you can do is don't trigger that for all the pages. So instead of loading out for all the pages, you can add something like, in your trigger, you can add something like, don't load it for everything, but only if like some custom events, only if the rating does not contain good. So you could add here, does not contain good. And it will only fire when it's a poor or needs improvement. And a metric callback might not be called if the user never interacts with the page. So when you are debugging, make sure that you are interacting with the page. If you have a BigQuery link, this data will show up in your BigQuery data. And it can help you to debug, like this debug target is the one that is contributing more to your metrics. You can also build really nice dashboards. I'm not going to go over that, but you can check the articles from Google. They are extensive, and they have even a code lab that can help you to set this up once you have the data in BigQuery. But maybe you don't want that in BigQuery. You want it in an external database. We're going to review really quick a Superbase Grider. Superbase is an open source Firebase alternative. It's just an open source database infrastructure. It's built on Postgres. So we're going to do this with a server-side container. So basically, you can have a database table. For example, this is called inside Superbase. It's called page views. And in your table, you will have some like parameters in there, like some columns. And Superbase also lets you add like a project. It has a project URL and an API. This is basically an API call. So I'm going to do a really quick demo. Before I do, I need to change my tag in the client because it's using the client, but now I'm going to send it to the server container. I'm just going to add server container URL here, server container. That's it. That's what you need to do in case you are using server side. Okay, in your container, you will search for the gallery and you will find, you wait a little bit, you click on search, and then you click grader and you add it to your workspace. It looks safe. This one looks safe. It only sends a request. You can see that it only sends specific headers, and it doesn't add more things that you set up. After that, you add a tag. So you click on new, tag configuration, you click Superbase Grider, and you set it up. It's just something really, really quick. I'm also almost on time. we need to trigger it on a trigger. So I already created the trigger. So I'm just gonna pick the Core Web Vitals trigger. Basically, it's just when these events happen. And then you need to set up the project URL in here, the API key, and the table name, which is page views. And that's it. You need to add the properties. We got that, we will need to get those properties from the event data. I already did that, but I'm going to show you how they are set up. Basically, you will add something like the Core Web Vitals rating, and Core Web Vitals target the book, and the book target. When I call Core Web Vitals path URL. So no, it's hold on, location, page location, Core Web Vitals host name. It's a host name, and that's it. That's the columns that we have in our table. This is our table. This is empty. And then we click on save, and this should work. So let's preview. In order for this to fire the events, this is not going to show up anything. We go back to our client and we click preview too. We go to your album, we wait. Here are the events in your client. Let's see if they show up in the server side. Here they are, LCP, with your SEPA-based tag and the values. These are rating, it's undefined. I must have called the wrong name, but you can see the path and the host name. But basically what I want to show is that they will show up in here. Maybe it didn't, it failed because it needs more data. I think I made a mistake in the setup. So it must be because I changed the parameters name. However, they should show up in here really quick. All that you needed to do is to set up the values in here. I'm not going to the book. Why? Because I only have 5 minutes left. But if you set up the events in here, they will show up in your table. And this template is basically an HTTP request. So with a template, you can basically do HTTP request and call your any application that you have. I'm going to go back to the presentation to show up the third use case, how to scale using HTML5 data attributes. So some of the tags, the containers can have million tags. And why is that? Well, because maybe sometimes you have triggers that look exactly the same. And why does this happen? It's just because people do copy paste. And then you have tags that kind of look the same. They are just changing the event naming here. Why does this happen? It's because maybe you want to track buttons such as this one, sign up for free, get started, and contact us. And when you spec the HTML, they kind of looks the same. So you end up having the same trigger for all the events and the same tags, one for each trigger. You can change this for using like regular expression based on the ID or the classes and so on. And that improves things, so you end up just having one tag. However, things change, HTML change, and you have like a lot of variations. Or you want to track footer, main call to action, or the footer in here. So again, you end up having million tags. How can you solve this? You can solve this using data attributes, HTML data attributes, which is basically semantic HTML that allows you to store extra information. So how do you do that? Basically, if you have something like buttons like this, you will add HTML5 data attributes, something like data trigger, data event, data platform, whatever you want to send to your analytics platform. You will add it to all the HTML. And basically, how can you access that data? You will define a user-defined variable of type auto even variable. And then you pick the variable type, which will be element attribute. The element attribute can get you the attribute name, in this case, for example, the data trigger. And with the data trigger, you end up having one variable that looks like this. And then you add a trigger where whenever that trigger contains click, you can add it to all your elements. You fire a tag with that trigger. So at the end, you have one trigger, one tag. You will end up copy pasting a lot of user-defined variables based on the values that you want to add, but you will only have one trigger and one tag. And when you fire it, you will see that the parameters, if you add it to the GA platform, you can see that they are replacing here. If you go back to the pricing, maybe you want for some of the things like set up a plan you want to add. So you can add one parameter, even if it doesn't exist. Why? Because it's gonna be empty when you actually check it out. And even though it's sent, it doesn't show up in your GA4 interface. So it's fine if you send it. You can always like create different tags. And can you use this in templates? You can. Basically, you use instead of having a standard, for example, for the Facebook pixel, you will instead use a variable. And you can use a variable for the data pixel ID too. And I went really, really fast, but I wanted to show how to use the data attributes. That's it. This is what we covered today. And that's it. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this talk. Yeah, that's it, Phil.
Hi, Mayra. Wow. Oh my gosh, that was incredible. There's like so much information in there, and it was like, I wasn't sure if you were like if it was running in normal time. You were like going through that very proficiently. I just see if there's any questions. I mean, we've only got 5 minutes before the next talk. We'll just give people a chance to kind of ask a question via Q&A. I have put the speaker feedback link into chat, so if attendees fill in that form and then they get to the thank you page, and then they can access the PDF version of your slides, or if they can scan the resources kind of page on the screen as well. I have also put your LinkedIn link into chat, Mayra, and so if people can connect with you on LinkedIn. I don't see any questions, but I guess my only question would be on the site speed tracking. Is there, because it's a great idea in terms of only sending it on if it's bad, because no point recording it if the site speed is good. Would it also be possible to kind of sample it? So like either using a random number or a cookie, so it's not always kind of sent, but like 1 out of 100 times it's recorded. A little bit like on GA3 where it did site speed tracking and it was like a default of 1% as a sort of sample size.
So sorry, was that a question? I couldn't.
Yeah, I guess.
For the World Cup Web Vitals.
Yeah.
So Core Web Vitals gets you a rating out of the 25%, 75% page views. So sometimes in your Google search platform can get you a poor, but that's because 75% get that score, but it doesn't mean that all the users. So something that you want to do is to check if it's happening for desktop or if it's happening for mobile or if it's happening only for Chrome. So in the example that I gave for example, for the Sopabase, you can send like the browser and that can help you to your analysis. I don't know if that responds to your question.
Yes. Yeah, that Supabase plugin, I need to investigate that further. I'll have to sort of rewatch your talk maybe when they're released on YouTube. because it's kind of there's some bits in that I want to go over in kind of more detail and try it out on a kind of a sample site. Okay, we've got 3 minutes before our next talk. So thank you again, Mayra, for doing this talk. It was incredible. That was like, wow. I sent a message internally to our team. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. So well done.
Thank you.
You did a
I was too fast. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, the content was awesome. And that's why the fact that it's recorded means that people can kind of like stop it at certain points and like go at their own speed. But to cram so much information into 30 minutes is incredible. So thank you again.